Almost everybody who talk about pets eventually arrive to the same conclusion. Use healing pet. More healing mean more survivability. More survivability mean more time on the field. More time on the field mean more damage. And because of that, healing pets become one of the safest recommendation in the entire Call of Dragons. Honestly, for a long time, I agree with that advice. It makes sense. The report I have actually supported, the results I have supported, everything seems to point in the same direction. If your pet keep your march alive longer, that's a good thing. Simple. At least that was what I thought, but recently I have started noticing something that feels very strange. Not on Discord, not on Reddit, not from somebody else's account, from my own reports. And the more I look at those reports, the more uncomfortable the realization become. Because some of the marches that use it to feel incredible don't feel incredible anymore. Not terrible, not unusable, just different. And whether something that worked for months suddenly feels different, that's usually where the interesting discoveries begin. And the thing comes from my own experience. What I mean by that is, I save my reports with different legions. And something that I noticed, obviously here is just the reports that are, let's say, the good reports or a little above the average reports. But yeah, if I go and check it out, this is, for example, Lilia Varian. Okay, right now I don't have that many reports. I have this report where I strongly suggest using using the Venom Lizard with the counter attack. Is absolutely wild how much damage this Legion can actually do. But yeah, right now I don't have many supports. I guess they're expire for some reason. But my point is, I start looking that my Sand Lizards or my healing pets, yeah, they're doing what they're doing. There's some of them are still in developing, but the results I was getting start be less from what I was expected with couple words. And what I mean by that, obviously I'm not having like 3-star. Hopefully soon this one is going to be 3-star. It's like 3.9k, close to 4,000, and it's going to be, full 3-star. But yeah, I have tested this Sand Lizard for a very long time. And yeah, this is this little personal experience that actually start questioning this advice about the healing pets at the end of the day. Because my first reaction wasn't that the pet was the problem. My first reaction was that I must be doing something wrong. Maybe positioning, maybe target selection, maybe bad engagement, maybe bad luck. But then I keep seeing the same pattern. And that's when I start asking a different question. What if the pet is still doing exactly it was designed to do, but the battlefield around actually changed? Because that's completely different conversation. Most players assume that if something was strong last season, it should be strong also this season. But that's not how the strategy games actually work. The heroes change, the artifact change, the pets change, the players change, the damage change, everything basically are changing in this game. And if everything around a build change, the value of that build can change too, even if the build stay exactly the same. And I'm going to give you an example with, this time I'm going to give it with the hero, because I think the majority of the players understand when I give examples with the heroes, not with artifacts or pets. Lilia, for example. Lilia was extremely solid hero many seasons. But lately, something that I noticed is the build of the hero didn't change. Is still Infernal Flame, is still like level 5, getting this Magic Keen. This artifact is very solid. Also, the pet is maybe not the best thing, but My point is, right now, Lilia is not actually generating what she was used to generating. The reason behind is simple. Just we're hitting now more infantry, and by hitting more infantry, we're receiving more counterattack. The majority of the cases, the infantry are alone, so you're not actually benefiting that much from the AoE that the hero is doing. The majority of there is no more like back in the days. I remember Krakens throwing like 5 legions, infantry legions non-stop, and those legions was something like a mid shield. Right now, Joran Ewanir, Lee Kwan Kuma, even Gorish Skogo is still doing some crazy counterattack. It's just the life of the mages become extremely hard from Generation 4 and Generation 5 infantry. And as you can see, the things change. The hero didn't change. The hero is the same. It's the same Lilia that was generating that good reports back in the days. Just the context of the battlefield changed itself. And that's when I start paying attention to something that most players don't even look. No healing numbers, no damage numbers, outcome. Because there is a huge difference between my pet. Where is my pet? Well, my pet healing a lot right now. Yeah, like my pet is healing a lot, and my pet actually changed the fight. Those are not the same things. A report can show massive healing and still be bad report. Right now I really don't have, I think, some reports that I save. Maybe I'm going to open some PvP. Do we have some PvP? Yeah, here with Ne, I basically crushed the enemy. So let me see. Maybe I can actually have something. If I didn't actually get catched by some cavalry, as you can see here, I get catched with some cavalry. Maybe it's going to be some other report where I have more time. Here again, I get some get catched, but anyway. Here, as you can see, the healing is 69.2k, which is very nice. And the thing with the Sound Lizard, the thing with the Sound Lizard is he's also healing the legions around him. So you know, it may, if I remember right, where is the Sound Lizard? Yeah, I mean, your legion heals up to 4 of your early legions every 6 seconds when in the battle. Obviously, this is the healing factor. Soon, when I upgrade this spell, it's going to go wild. Not gonna lie, it's like 1k, 100 more healing. But anyway, my point is, the pet is doing crazy amount of healing compared to, for example, a damage dealing pet. Do I have maybe Lilia Velen? Yeah, still some healing here, so I use Sound Lizard. Maybe here I use some damage. Here I use Sapphire Fire Drag. But I want to say something about the pets, especially the damaging pets. It's more like those pets, you need full build on those pets. Maybe things change a little. And I think that's where a lot of players incidentally fool themselves, because big numbers are easy to see. Impact is harder to measure, but impact is what actually matters. And the realization completely changed how I start looking at the pet reports. This is actually the pet reports I'm showing you. Think about it in this way. Imagine your pet heals for, I don't know, let's say 200k. I don't know if this is possible, but imagine your pets do like 200k healing. That sounds incredible. Everybody sees the number and immediately think the pet perform well. And to be fair, it can be actually achievable. It can be achievable since for Sound Lizard, we're not having something like diffused healing, where just the amount of healing is reduced. On 2-star is doing like 60 something k. Imagine if it's like 3-star, it can go even more. But what if the march still gets deleted 30 seconds later? What if the healing never actually changed the outcome? What if all that healing simply delays the inevitable? Now compare that to a pet that helps you remove threats faster. Maybe it generates less healing. Maybe the report doesn't look flashy with the healing. Maybe the number don't impress people in the Discord. But what if the enemy dies first? What if your march survives because the dangerous target never gets a chance to keep dealing damage? Suddenly, the smaller number creates the big results. And that's where things become really interesting, because healing and surviving are not always the same thing. Sometimes damage creates survivability. Sometimes pressure creates survivability. Sometimes eliminating threats creates survivability. And I think modern Call of Dragons is moving closer and closer towards this reality. And I'm going to give you an example for me back in the days when I was playing with the cavalry. Yeah, Burgas was having a moment when I was playing with cavalry. The only thing that I was looking is to kill the targets faster, because the more time the target is alive, the bigger are the chance the target to fire up, for example, rage skill. The bigger was the chance I continue receive counter attack. Absolutely same with the mages. If I don't kill the target, there is a big chance this target also trigger their artifact, also the pets to fire up, also the heroes to fire up, the counter attack I'm receiving. By killing faster, you're receiving less damage from that target, because if you reduce the time that this target is alive, you're basically reducing the damage by half the target is actually doing, just by increasing your damage. And I start believing that we're actually going in this direction. Now, here is the uncomfortable question. Have healing pets actually become weaker? Or have players simply failed to notice that incoming damage keeps increase every season? Because if the damage grows faster than healing, even then eventually healing start lose value. Not because healing get worse, because damage got better. And that's completely different problem. Because for now, let's be honest, for now the Sand Lizard is still providing some good healing. Especially if it's like 3-star, you have spells that is increasing the healing or giving some extra healing, 10% chance to heal every second. You also have this spell where pet skill healing granted is like, let's say, 15% determined by the spirit. War healing granted is determined by the strange. As you can see, my spirit, my strange. I mean, you have a lot of spells that's supporting this healing. But I believe we're witnessing that the damage get increased that much that this healing, even though that there is a lot of boosters of this healing, but this healing may stop be covering that. Even the counter attack may actually stop covering the counter attack or something like this, because the Sand Lizard is used mainly to help with the counter attack that the mages are receiving. And yeah, again, this is completely different problem. Most players are asking how much healing is my pet providing, but maybe the better question is, can that healing still keep up when the damage environment we're fighting today? Because if the answer is no, then a lot of accepted pet advice may need to be reconsidered.